Nicola, welcome, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation for tonight.
Joanna, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have this little chat with you about our two training programs that we are organizing together this year in Compassion Focsed Therapy. So
yes,
please, as far as I know, these are the only Compassion Focsed Therapy training programs available in Romania right now. So I'm really, really excited to get to talk to you about it. So please, could you introduce yourself a little bit to our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. We never met in person, but I think when all these things will finish, I'll be able to see you and thank you in person. So I also want to thank all the Romanian therapists and people that actually were so nice over the last training that we had, because I really felt there was a lot of interest in compassion focused therapy. So compassion focused therapy, I am actually a cognitive behavioral psychotherapist. I was born like that, and I got my degree in 2012, 2013. But then, as you know, we all have to integrate different approaches, and we are curious of, understanding of how different point of view, can be used in therapy. And also, I think the cognitive behavioral therapy is such a good starting point to explore, because maybe you have a little bit of a base, a structure in case formulation, and then you can absorb different techniques, different approaches. And this is what happened to me, really, because when I was actually at the end of my training here in Italy in cognitive behavioral therapy, I discovered this compassion focused therapy. And that 10 years ago was, I would say, still at the beginning. Paul Gilbert was already, of course, very famous. He's one of the most famous living psychotherapists in the world, I would say, and is very famous for bringing the evolutionary approach to therapy. And as we will see during the training, such a useful way to look at the clients and to look at ourselves also. Very de-shaming, very helpful in terms of alleviating self-criticism and everything. And so I found Paul Gilbert, I found his books. And I originally, in my life, I was always interested in imagery, like using visualizations in therapy. So I remember one night, I was in Grosseto in Tuscany, where I come from, and I found on internet, completely randomly, this beautiful practice that is called the compassionate image, where basically you ask clients to visualize, to create, to build their ideal compassionate image. And I felt like, that's interesting. I want to know more about this compassion focused therapy. And I found a training. And from that moment on, it was like an endless, a growing love towards this approach. I went on with my trainings, and I was lucky enough to start my collaboration with Paul. Also, over the last 10 years, I became part, I would say, of his training stuff. I've been, doing many trainings with him in UK and in United States and many parts in Europe, I have to say. We've been in Spain, we've been Bratislava, in Belgium, in Italy, and so I was very lucky to be close to him and to learn compassion focused therapy. Yeah,
I'm sure that must have been a really interesting experience. Is there something, do you have like a special memory from this journey that you had with Paul Gilbert? Is there something that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I remember like the first time I met Paul was actually in this training in La Palma, one of the islands in the Canary Islands. So basically I went for this training in La Palma, and it was so secluded, so isolated. It was in the middle of the winter. And I remember starting this training with this very famous psychotherapist, and I still remember him explaining the very physiological parts of compassion. And that was my first moment where I felt, oh, so the body is really connected to the brain and to compassion, and maybe we can use the body. And that actually my first kind of moment of, oh, wow. And the second one, when actually I did the compassionate image. Basically, Paul guided us, actually now it's 10 years ago, guided us through this visualization. And I still remember, I still have this image of creating this visualization, and still remember feeling this is gonna be so helpful in my life. And I remember like talking with Paul, because Paul has been collaborating with Gianni Liotti, as you know, very famous Italian psychotherapist, and they share this approach of motivational systems that is actually at the base of compassion focused therapy. And I remember talking with Paul about how important it is to focus on motivation and compassion in psychotherapy. And so I have these two moments in my life. He like looking at me with like, who's this person from Italy? Because I was the only Italian attending this training.
Really?
And then when I came back, everything, I would say, spiraled up for me, because I came back, I realized, actually a good friend of mine at a scuola di psicoterapia cognitiva here in Italy, Dr. Barbara Barcaccia, said, Nicola, no one really knows anything about compassion focused therapy. Why don't you teach us? And so Mancini has always been so incredibly curious of these new approaches. And so I did my first training there, 2 hours. And then I felt that people, and especially cognitive behavioral therapists, but then all other types of therapists were so interested. And then I started, and yeah.
It's been, compassion focused therapy has been incredibly successful lately. It has attracted a lot of interest. Why do you think that is, especially for us who come from a classical cognitive background?
Yeah, I think that it's such a de-shaming approach, because there are two reasons why I think it's becoming so popular, and it's not because of a fashion thing, it's because I think it's very helpful. First, it really incorporates very helpfully, I would say, this evolutionary based point of view on psychopathology. So we used to say to clients, you haven't chosen your brain. We showed clients that they haven't chosen their emotional systems, and basically it's not their fault if their negative emotions work the way they work, but it's our responsibility to do something to build some capacities for change. And this is the second part of compassion that is so intriguing, is because Paul, in his I would say immense curiosity, realized that the Buddhist traditions, or the contemplative tradition, not only Buddhist traditions, over the last 3,000 years have been developing exercises and practices that are really helpful for the cultivation of ways of dealing with the brain. So he was able to take something that comes naturally from a spiritual tradition and a contemplative tradition like compassion, and add an incredibly strong scientific point of view to it. So I'm so grateful to Paul, because not only, of course, and he's my mentor, and he's my friend, and also we collaborate in a lot of projects, and so I'm grateful that he opened up all these resources to Italians and to me, but also because overall it created for all of us the possibility to scientifically investigate processes like compassion for ourselves or compassion from others, because otherwise you should just go for a Buddhist training. Nothing against it, but we are scientists, and we need to do evidence-based psychotherapies, and it's so helpful that he was the one creating this bridge, and it's such a great gift, because from now on we can say that we are using a science-based approach.
And we really needed it, because we often say, you know, that secondary problems are the biggest issue that bring patients over to us in therapy.
Yeah.
And yet we so often only focus on the anxiety problem, depression problem, and self-criticism and self-blame just become this huge obstacle towards treatment that we don't always manage to tackle with our usual cognitive tools.
Yes.
So I agree. This is what I always tell participants, you know, when they ask me after last year, when we did our level 1 training, and we got incredibly good feedback. So I keep telling them what I learned from this experience, that not only it's going to be useful for you in your practice, but it's going to be useful, you know, in your everyday life. It's just such an extraordinary thing to learn as a therapist and human being. So
absolutely. Yeah, because self-criticism is basically a trans diagnostic factor. Now we know from meta-analysis and from a lot of papers that really, if clients knock at our doors, it's because they have some secondary problems. And one of the most painful secondary problems is that they are not able to experience compassion for themselves. Compassion for the fact that they have an anxious brain or a sad brain. So, but also it's too simplistic to say, you know, just experience some love for yourself or some compassion. It's not easy. And so it's important to appreciate also the fact that it's not so straightforward, and that there are many resistances to that. And compassion focused therapy really helps therapists and of course clients to understand, okay, it makes sense why it's so difficult for me, and it makes sense that I have to do this training, and this is the way I can do that, this is the way I can proceed. And it kind of gives a little bit of structure for the cultivation of this path. And and knowing that self-criticism is trans-agnostic across many disorders, it's actually a good news, because we are, first of all, it fits with more and more, you know, dimensional approach to psychotherapy and to you know, abnormal behaviors. And also it means that a lot of therapists from a lot of different perspectives can join us, because we learn during this training how to help clients with something that very probably they're experiencing, you know, criticism and lack of self-compassion, but also lack of connection with others. So it's therapists usually say, oh yeah, I noticed that my clients didn't know how to do that bit, you know, of compassion, but I didn't know how to teach. And also, by the way, I didn't know it even for myself, because I also started with that. Like, I didn't even know how to be compassionate with myself. And so we learn and we grow.
That is so true. So we are starting again this journey on Friday, February 11. And what is there? Can you just tell us very briefly what should participants expect from this first level of training?
Yeah. So the first level, it's I'm glad it became so also popular in Italy, and of course it's popular in UK and actually all over the world, because it's basically the introductory work module to compassion focused therapy. And so it's in 4 days, and I think it's a good news, because, you know, we have Zoom, it's online, we tend to get tired, but there are two good points. It's in 4 days, meaning that it starts on Friday afternoon. So we have Friday afternoon and all Saturday. And then the next weekend is again Friday afternoon and all Saturday. And we have Sunday to relax and to absorb.
And process all this information.
Absorb what? Something that is going to be very experiential, because the way and we in compassion focused therapy do our training is very much, I would say, a very nice mixture of science, a framework to compassion focused therapy, but also, okay, let's explore it, let's experience that. So we do a lot of experiential activities that are both meditations that therapists can do immediately after the training with their clients. And in fact, we provide little we provide worksheets, and we provide, of course, all the scripts for the meditation so that therapists can do them again with their clients. But also, not only we kind of help therapists explore meditation, but also me and Beatrice, who's going to be with me, is my colleague and collaborator. We will show role playing of how to, for example, tell the clients that we are going to have this approach with her. And we are going to, for example, also show some role playing of how to intervene when there are blocks to compassion or when there are resistances to compassion. And the participants will be able to do that in small groups and on Zoom. So usually participants say that it's very alive workshop and very intense, but also pleasant, because we do a lot of work on ourselves and it's relevant to us. So, and this training is actually recognized by, of course, the Compassion and Mind UK, which is the mother of all the other associations all over the world. And now it's nice to say that the associations are in Brazil, in Spain, and in Japan, in Australia. Maybe one day there will be an association in Romania. Who knows?
Yes, I can absolutely testify that the training is very intense. I was really surprised last year, because I am so used to, a bit of lectures, lecturing style in our classes. And I was so surprised and so happy to see all the participants really bringing their own emotions and experiences into it. And I have to say, it was, I wasn't expecting it.
Well, it's nice because, for example, the first day we explore the case formulation of level first. So, for example, we explain the different emotional systems and how they are shaped, and how you can interview a client. So basically, we do this role playing, but also we can do that with ourselves. And then over the training, we also, of course, teach our participants how to lead, for example, the compassionate image visualizations, or the compassionate place, or the compassionate color, or to write a compassionate letter to themselves and teach clients to read this compassionate letter, maybe to an empty chair, and as a way to develop this compassionate attitude. And it's nice, we end up realizing a lot of things of ourselves and also of our clients.
So after the first level, participants will gain access to the advanced level.
Yes. So at the moment there are these two main levels, and the second one is actually the more advanced, where there are more clinical skills. Even if also in the first level there are it's very much packed with techniques and clinical skills. The second level, I would say, it's even more intense in a sense that we get to practice a lot of compassionate chair work. So we do a lot of work with parts and what we call multiple selves, because it's very important to realize that compassion for ourselves is really building a relationship with ourselves, or with the different parts of ourselves. So we, as Janina Fisher would say, we are obsessed about good attachment bonds with others, but we never talk about good attachment bonds with the parts of ourselves or among the parts. So we can really start developing an inner safe base and secure base. This is what Compassion Focsed Therapy is about. And we do this with a lot of this intense practice that is the chair work. And with this, and also that is also possible to do on Zoom. So it's nice to hear that it's doable. And yes, we also will talk a lot about, in the second level, about the case formulation of level 2, where we help clients understand, and us understand, because we always do all the practice on ourselves, how our environment shaped our motivational systems. Because how I ended up, like, for example, be very much on my rank system, or feared of being, you know, criticized, instead of, for example, open to compassion. And we have this very powerful tool that helps us understand the history behind our, you know, difficulties with compassion, and not only. And this is what we do in second level. And also we talk a lot about the relationship, of course, therapeutic relationships, and how compassion can inform that, and many more things.
Well, I can't wait for the advanced level. I know that almost all of our participants from last year are already ready and waiting for it. So I'm sure it's going to be a really amazing experience. So please, I will leave all kinds of useful information in the comment section below. And on our website, you can find everything you need to be a part of this really interesting and exciting and very, very useful event, I think. So thank you so much, Nicola.
There's actually one last thing I would like to say. You know, we are always concerned with, you know, oh, I'll do another training, but will I have to like replace the previous thing that I do? There's one thing about compassion focused therapy, is that it generates this nice sense of integration among many things that we know. And it's so, and compassion focused therapy is so much based on psychophysiology. So for example, I study heart rate variability and the connection between our heartbeats and compassion. And it's nice that therapists usually say, oh, now it fits together very nicely. And so there's a little bit of a sense of integration, but also of immediate usefulness of the training. And so I really hope there are a lot of Romanian colleagues there.
Thank you so much. And we will, I hope we will see many of our colleagues on Friday, when it's just the first day of our level 1 training. And I am really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Joanna, for organizing.
Thank you, Nicola, and see you on Friday.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.